1. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, prisoners, even if they have broken the law and violated social contract, are not slaves. They are not puppets of the government, and they are not assets or a cash cow of the private prison to suck dry and get money from. We believe that getting a portion of their income, even if it's proportional, even if it's temporary, is akin to theft and akin to the very debt traps we see in society that they actually fall for, and violates the principles of the criminal justice system. Opening opposition was correct to say it violates consent. I'm going to extrapolate and extend that and nuance this back to the prison system and the interest of the prisoner. What exactly does it violate? A, it violates the idea of proportional punishment and actually creates a double punishment, because these non-violent offenders already paid bail if they're able to get out, or they've already served their parole and have been good, or they've already served the time when they've stayed there in the confines of their cell and have been a good individual and a nice person. These people have toiled in the sweatshops of prison to be able to get out. They've already earned their freedom and should have no strings attached at the point in which they're trying to get back into society, something that side government champions to be so important. You cripple their capacity and harm their ability to live a good life. B, the second thing it violates is the principle of rehabilitation. Because if opening government says is true and that these people are so disenfranchised, these people are so vulnerable, and they're pushed to acts of desperation, we think any amount of money you take away from them, you take away from their children, you take away from their families, is going to make their quality of life significantly worse, and in the worst case, can even push them to acts of desperation at the point in which they may even take more shortcuts to be able to get out. Because if you characterize them to be vocational minimum wage earners, even if you get 10% of their monthly income for 5 years, guess what, bro? It compounds. That's how interest works. That's how people become bankrupt and are unable to pay their loans. The point in which these people feel vulnerable again is the point in which you risk them relapsing, committing the very crimes that got them in the first place, and entrenching them in these systems of poverty. What is my extension? Number 1, how do private prisons work, and what is the role of the prison insofar as the greater role of the state is to be able to help and take care of people, especially those pushed to margin and pushed to acts of desperation. We think there are so many other ways private prisons make money. You have A, the very contract that they have with the government is probably a lot of money, since the government is contracting that private company to probably build a private prison. That is to say, the cost of capital and the quality of life for these sometimes non-violent individuals is often more expensive than a state penitentiary. So Gov is right to say that the government's already paying, and that in and of itself means that they're willing to put a large amount of money to help these individuals. This means that any dollar value of the negotiated contract should be enough to be able to upscale these individuals if the government or if the private prison really wanted to. Because I challenge the lens of what they're trying to pay for. We're not paying for a fucking degree in school. We're not sending them to Ivy League. We're helping them learn basic things to be able to become a vocational worker. That at most takes 15 days of training and a couple of materials. It's not gonna bankrupt them at a point in which they do it for free if they really wanted to do so. B, we have to understand that private prisons are corporations who raise money from shareholders. That is to say, they're a public company who raises money through debt or bonds, or issues equity or ownership through common or preferred stock. This means they have so many avenues to be able to make money from their shareholders, from the initial or rotating payments from that government contract. And I'm also telling you, it's not that expensive if you really want to upskill and help these individuals. That is to say, even if they're not a listed company, and this is taking Gov in all of the range of scenarios, let's say they're a private company, they often have huge backing from investors like VCs or private equity firms. C, for the reasons opening government stated, we think that the collected money isn't a lot, and this is taking Gov at their best. This does more than opening opposition, who said the handle of perverse incentive structure. In my pre-oration and rebuttal, I've already told you why it's perverse and nuance it to how private corporations and private prisons work. At worst, it's perverse, but at best, it's a useless incentive structure because the amount of money you get isn't that much. The impact here is very simple. Prisoners end up using these particular individuals who've served time as a cash cow, leaving them dry and harming these people's capacity. I'll take a POI. Anushka, go for it.
Yeah, considering that the simple comparative in this debate is even in our worst case, prisons still have vested interest to make sure that inmates still have a decent job. Please engage.
There are other institutions in society that exist, like local government units or government institutions, soup kitchens, ways to be able to get a job, meaning it's not just the burden of the prison. Even if the prison wants to do it, you have status quo and fiat for us to also say there are so many other institutions to help them in life after. We're saying you make it worse when you get money from them for no reason that I really understand, because it's not like it's a lot of money. The second thing, and most importantly, is what is the harm it does to the prisoner, and how exactly is our counterfactual of leaving them alone particularly much better, and how do we help them absent this perverse structure? A, we think that if these particular private prisons were actually useful and actually cared, then they can do it for free. There are so many other ways to be able to help these individuals. You don't need a degree or a course to be able to learn how to be a particular plumber or someone who's an electrician. You need at most a couple of weeks of OJT, an internship, etc. In fact, bro, you can even learn all that shit online. YouTube, Khan Academy, Coursera. What exactly are the specialized courses, bro, and training you're talking about? You're trying to frame it as so important and so expensive and so crucial. I'm breaking that frame, breaking the debate, and saying it's not that much. So, if we don't want these people to have a harder life and we want to give them a capacity to be able to do better and actually get out of the situation, we must leave them alone. We don't suck them dry like a cash cow. We don't put them in debt and don't put this burden on them. We are very proud to oppose.
Tayo speaker for that.